Do, 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 do. All right. Is it morning? Is it evening? Is it late? Is it early? Who knows? But AJ is live streaming once again. Let's do a second camera test. Hey, there we go. Bit out of focus. Who's going to pop into the chat today? We have a Damien. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Darth. Back to live streaming once again. Hey, Moondog. Hey, Robert. Sir William. Peace and long life. Howdy. Hey, Alexander. Hey, Findantu. Hey, Kairos. Liking the subscriber. How's it going? Moonring. Hey, Scott. Hey, Lysander. Hey, Mikey. I have been terrible, Mikey, but I'm on the mend. I'm recovering. You'll be able to hear my voice is a bit... yeah, you can hear it. But I can breathe. Hey, Adrian. Good morning. All right, so today we're going to talk about the Magic the Gathering Multiverse as compared to the Magic the Dungeons and Dragons Multiverse. So what's the big difference between the two? Why is it so difficult to cross over between them? Hey, Cordell. Hey, Mr. L. Oh, thanks, Dana. Sakib, good morning. Hey, Kirk. Stink Stank on the Gink Gank and the Pink Tank. Green sleeves and the cloth of gold. Da, 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 da. I love that song, actually. The lighting is too strong. There we go. Soften it up a bit for you. Actually, that's a lot better. I'm much improved. Yeah, sure. I still have to be a little bit careful of my voice when I'm on like a big long, like sometimes it takes me over 40 minutes of talking to do a script because I when I'm reading the scripts I'll make a mistake and then I'll just go back and reread. I'll pause and then I'll reread the bit that I was doing. So sometimes the scripts when I'm reading it will be much longer and then I edit it down to the length that you see. My bloopers are exceedingly boring on my channel, unfortunately. I was tempted to post a little clip of just me coughing afterwards, after one of my last videos. Oh, the Beholder mic, yeah. I thought I'd make the Yeti X a little bit more interesting for you on screen. Are there Ixadzijittles in the Magic the Gathering Multiverse? No, I don't think so. I could be wrong. Oh, I see. Geld the Woodcrafter and Greensleeves the Wizard, Magic the Gathering's first 3 books. I haven't actually read any of the Magic the Gathering books. I glean a lot of the lore and stuff, and I'm picking up books that I probably should read at some point as I start to investigate it. Skyrim's 10th anniversary. Oh, happy birthday, Skyrim and Bethesda. Mana, the Blind Eternities versus Wild Space and the Phlogiston plus Planes planets, or are they merely alternate dimensions of Dominaria? Yeah, that's essentially exactly what I was going to be talking about, Sir William. Prophetic, indeed. Scott, I feel fine about muskets and firearms in my game because I've got magic missiles and fireballs in my game. Muskets and firearms are relatively easy compared to how accessible magic is and how easy it is to like recharge magic items and things these days. Because back in the past, magic items often had charges that you would have to get re-energized by wizards at enormous expense. That's what a lot of adventurers would spend their adventuring gold on. So I think it's a bit of a lack of foresight on the part of 5th edition game designers where they've given us magic items that basically endlessly refresh at dawn the next morning. It's put all the wizards out of work, and it's left adventurers with a lot of money that they don't know what to spend it on. Because they also haven't given them any complications such as the local lord has asked you to tithe 20% of your takings to the kingdom, otherwise you're going to be put in stocks. Or your local cleric association, your church or your ecclesiarchy or whatever, is demanding that your cleric put in 2 months of service to the church because they're now famous and powerful. And also, when the church finds out that your cleric can commune with the god that they all worship, they're going to have certain demands on that cleric to answer certain questions and things. I mean, you got to look at the wider implications of the powers that adventurers have. And sometimes they cost a lot of money. Yeah. So for those of you who are completely unaware of Magic the Gathering's history, Planeswalkers were originally a lot more powerful, and still, unlike Nicobolas and various others, Jace and things, and Khan and stuff, are very, very powerful still. They not only have the ability to shift between different dimensions as a natural ability, so for them it's just like a sorceress ability to travel between planes. It's either a spark that is awoken in them or something that's instilled in them somehow, but they all have this spark of the Planeswalker that allows them to shift between different alternate realities. So the the planes of Magic the Gathering are different dimensions, sort of thing. They're not they're planets, but they're also much like the outer planes of D&D. So when you go to Mirrodin or something like that, that's a demi-plane, essentially a reality that Khan created from scratch. So it's an artificial reality that later on it got corrupted by this toxic element called Phyrexia, or basically Phyrexia is this toxic contamination which leaches into things. The way that mana works in the Magic the Gathering multiverse is it's like the each of the mana is a representation of domains, like the gods would have domain over vitality, piety, or aggression, or natural vitality of forests, or the dry desert winds, or something like that. Each of them has a certain association with one of the colors, one of the 5 colors of mana. That color of mana determines the structure of the plane itself. As we saw with Alara, one planeswalker was able to disrupt reality to such an extent by over-tapping the amount of mana that they were taking from that plane of existence that they disrupted reality and split Alara into demi-planes that were basically lands unto themselves, new shards of Alara. And they existed for thousands of years, independent of each other, but then they were stitched back together again by another planeswalker later on. So they have the ability of gods to manipulate reality itself. And this is why it's kind of tricky, because what Karsus did at the height of the power of Netheril, the Netheril Empire, to steal the power of the gods themselves at enormous complication and difficulty and risk to himself and to everyone, is something that the Planeswalkers could routinely sort of do back in the past. Like, they can literally capture a god and put them to work by manipulating reality itself. Like, think about ley lines and things like that. That's essentially what they're manipulating. So they could basically land in Stonehenge, split England, the UK, off from the rest of the world as a demi-plane, summon all of the people of fighting age, send them to another dimension to fight for them. So they could do cross-fold dimensional rifts of epic proportions. That is what the Planeswalkers can do. That's the power of them. That's the reason why they're so incompatible with Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons' power scale can't handle the amount of gonzo fantasy involved in Magic the Gathering. So that's why at the moment we keep those two multiverses very separate from each other. The fact that we now have the Forgotten Realms getting involved in the Magic the Gathering lore as a card set is interesting, and I love the new mechanics of the dungeon delves and things like that, and seeing adventurers and famous figures from the Forgotten Realms available. I haven't seen an Elminster card yet, which is interesting, because Elminster kind of predates 5th edition. So maybe then the Wizard of the Coast has just gone, it's old before 5th edition lore, so we're not going to include it in there, which is really interesting. We also haven't seen anything about Harpers. I haven't seen any Harper agent cards or any of the faction cards for Lord's Alliance or the Thay Wizards, Red Wizards of Thay. Haven't seen any of that in the Magic the Gathering lore on the cards, so that's interesting. I don't know, usually you would see a bunch of novels and things that would come out along with a card set. So there's no corresponding set of novels in the works, as far as I know, in regards to Magic the Gathering and the Forgotten Realms. But I'd wager maybe there's something in the background. Who knows? Hey, thanks, Comic Nut. Thanks for reminding me. This is a monetized super chat. It's been a pretty poor month for me, as you know, because my content has suffered a little bit because of illness. I'm not saying I'm holding out a begging bowl or anything. I'm just saying every contribution helps. Thank you very much. Hey, AJ, question. How much for you to DM a game between me and some buddies? It's mostly be a comedy. That's good because that's pretty much all I can DM. My friend's character is called Chud of Studley. And to answer your question, yes, I've been day drinking. I don't have the free time. Like I can barely hold down half a session of a fortnightly game as it is. And that's the best I can do. So unfortunately, unless it's part of my YouTubing sort of activities, it's very difficult for me to put some time aside for anything like that. But I'd love to. I'd love to DM more games. Hey, Adam. I'm doing well, thanks. This is bright and early in the morning for me. This is my morning coffee live stream. Hey, Moonring, thank you. No Exits Architect's card, yeah, unfortunately. I mean, we don't know. There might be more. Yeah, so there's the different streams of mana. We have white mana, which is angels, which is vitality, a lot of gaining of health for the person who's basically playing the part of the. When you're playing the Magic the Gathering, if you have no knowledge of this game whatsoever, you take the role of a planeswalker, essentially. You are a powerful wizard who is able to summon creatures from other planes of existence, summon land power from that land, from those different planes of existence. That's what those mana cards are. So you get different colored different types of land that are associated with different things. So oceans and rivers and things like that, and lakes and things are blue mana. And islands and things like that. So coral reefs and things like that is blue mana. Oceans and stuff. Blue mana is water creatures, and it's also tricksy defensive and offensive magic that will bind up and trap your opponent. It's a very difficult color to play against. If a blue mana player is up against you, they're going to trap your monsters, tap them out, make them go to sleep, make you miss turns, make you throw your cards away from your hand, throw cards away from your deck of cards that you haven't even drawn yet. It's called milling, and generally make it difficult for you to play against them. They will stymie you. They also have a lot of flying creatures in general, and they have creatures which can avoid your defenses and get through and attack you. So then you've got white mana, which is plains, like fields and sunlit valleys and things like that. That's angels, goodness, peasants, soldiers, community, vitality, that sort of thing, celestial creatures. Then you've got the green mana, which is forests and jungles. It's primal growth. It's the ability of spiders to snatch creatures out of the sky. So it's very good against defending against other creatures. And the basic idea of green is that you summon giant monsters from the forest, which will rampage and absolutely obliterate, trample over any of the opponents. It's basically the force of life itself. The rage and force of the forests and vitality. regrowth, and it's also very good at summoning extra land and stuff, and turning land into armies and monsters and things. So it's the power of the earth itself, sort of thing. Then you've got red mana, which is it's mountains and it's forges, it's iron, it's warfare, it's raging goblins, it's fireballs, it's the ability to summon direct damage. It's very good at fast and brutal attacks. It's not very heavy on defense. It's mainly offense is the best defense, sort of thing. Then you have black mana, which is swamps, and pits, and it's necromancy, it's summoning creatures from the grave, that sort of thing, and it's poisoning. It's creatures which will even if you kill them, they'll kill your creature automatically because they're venomous or poisonous. They're called death touched and things like that. So each of these colors can be combined. You can have decks of cards which can combine all the different colors. You can have monocolored decks which are specialists in certain things, which gives them a big yawning weakness on something that those cards are not very good against. And essentially you start with 20 life, and when your life runs out to 0, you're dead. That's the end of the game. Or if you run out of cards in your deck, that's the end of your game as well. Yeah, Mirrodin's really good. I really love Phyrexia. I've got a soft spot for all that Phyrexian art. The horror of techno necromancy is fantastic, and I really am looking forward to bringing things like the Mind Flayers of Thune is kind of Phyrexian in a way. It's like that would be a blue-black deck, as far as I could tell. You got that vibe from it. And when you look at creatures in Dungeons and Dragons, and you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, you can't help but think about what color those creatures would be associated with. Like elves, for instance, is solid green decks. Elves are like one of the elves, and big creatures like Kavu and stuff like that are green. Merfolk is solid blue. Then you got the humans is essentially white and red. Goblins is very, very much red, and that sort of thing. Yeah, I was playing a goblin deck last night that was particularly brutal. Hey, Gielisa. Yeah, better enough for a live stream. I won't push it. I'm only going to be on for a. You sound a little sick. Thanks. Yeah. That's the main thing. Is like I'm well, but my voice is still pretty vulnerable. Hey, thanks, Amos. Hey, AJ, love you, man. I am turning 40 this October. I became a first-time DM about a year ago after listening to your lore for about 2 years. Oh, awesome. I love hearing that. I'm apparently really good at it and am looking to expand my games, and I have you to thank for it. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that's my primary objective, man. Thank you very much. Make more monetized live streams. Billions and billions. Thank you. Cheers for physical and monetary cures, having somewhat of a spiritual cure by revisiting stream watching while camping outside by the campfire. Spell slots recharged. Oh, that sounds awesome too. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this summer. I'm definitely going to be sitting outside and enjoying a campfire out in my backyard. Thanks, Amos. Too generous. I'm here to humbly request the ecology of the flying purple people eater, or anything else if that sounds dumb. Thanks again. Okay. Why not, man? Flying purple people eater. Is that an actual thing? I definitely know that there are some joke monsters from old dragon magazines, including the Blink Mammoth. Oh yeah, I also just yesterday or day before yesterday received my Reaper Miniatures package. This is all of the stuff that my friend and I have ordered together. So we've got a couple of core sets, extra Kobold Swarm, extra Armory, extra Goblins. I've got some of Sophie's Lucky Dice set. They're really nice dice, actually. Just basic, good dice set. Dark Depth expansion, Brinewood expansion, Greek Odyssey expansion, Dungeon Dwellers, Chronoscape, fan favorites, Dragonfolk. They accidentally did not include my dragon bust, which I was looking forward to painting and having on the back here. I guess I'm just going to have to make a dragon myself. My friend Ian ordered most of the large dragons, but we're missing a couple of things, which I've emailed Reaper about. Reaper are really good with customer service, so I'm 100% sure they'll fix that up. And they actually threw in an extra large dragon that I didn't order that I told them about. So yeah, they are really good. Thanks, Amos. Got to go to parent this 3-year-old. Why I never get to join chat as the primary caregiver. Take care, bud. Thanks, man. Thank you very much. Raise that kid right and get them playing D&D when they hit 11 or 12. Can you do more contests for specific magic items? Yeah, I can. I'm very cautious when meeting Swedish YouTubers because I met one once. Felix? Did you meet PewDiePie? Yeah, I'm aware of the Purple People Leader and general lore. Oh, New Phyrexia has many alignments now, not just black mana. You would think that once they start to establish themselves as a power, they become less of a conquering force, because Phyrexia is like white and black, because it's bringing things back from life and death as an exchangeable medium. So they take the idea of technology and necromancy to the absolute extreme, where flesh is just another type of technology for them. So they're like Terminator cyborgs, and the artwork is absolutely just dazzlingly good. Some of the most horrible black mana cards that I can think of are the Phyrexian ones, and the artwork is stuff that I'm always wanting to include in my videos. Hey Sakib, as I'm playing Storm King's Thunder as a DM, I need to find a reason for giants to attack non-giants and non-giants to say no to ours. Yeah, Storm King's Thunder is an interesting campaign. It's very sandboxy. Sometimes it's very hard to find the motivation for why your characters are there and doing things. So I would suggest that you really key into who the player characters are, who they're associated with, and get them involved in the people who live in the cities and the people who are traveling between cities, trade routes and things like that. Give them reasons to be traveling from A to B instead of just following some lead after some giant artifact or something like that. So Storm King's Thunder can be very difficult mid-campaign to sort of keep track of everything, and the players will sort of become lost and be wondering why they're doing things. So it's your job to sort of give them compelling reasons above and beyond the objectives of the campaign. Because the objectives of the campaign, compared to the amount of travel and time it takes to do things, are kind of like it's a lot of build-up to kind of a ho-hum sort of conclusion. Yeah. Particularly when you get into the actual motivations of the giants and stuff and realize that they're really kind of petty. Hey, thanks to Wall. Magic the Gathering first came out, used to be light and air white mana, beast and forest green mana, mountains and fire for red mana, psychic and water for blue mana, death and decay for black mana, technology and artifice for colorless mana. Oh yeah, I forgot about the artifacts. So colorless mana is dealing with artifacts, magical items, contraptions, vehicles, things like that. Yeah. Is that a new mic? Yes, it is. It's a Yeti X. And I'm very happy with it. It's I didn't think that it would be such a huge improvement over my little red Raspberry microphone, but it really is. Reinvesting back into it. You started playing D&D at the age of 6 back in the 70s. Wow. What's my most treasured book from your collection? The Grand History? Yeah, probably the Grand History. That's the one I've referenced probably the most. Though, that's the most useful book, but the most treasured one is the signed copy of. I've got a signed copy of one of the earlier edition books. That's got a couple of signatures in that I was not expecting, that I got through Amazon at no extra expense. It's in absolute pristine condition, and it's been signed by the authors. So I was absolutely floored. It's like worth $600 easy. The value of it monetarily wise is completely irrelevant to me, because I will be buried with that book. I'm the place where collections go to stay. Hey, thanks, Ethereus Knight. Ethereal. Big fan of your videos and the knowledge you share with us, AJ. Thank you so much. Your Mind Flayer video just inspired me to start writing my own campaign set in Innistrad with the Vampiric Illithid. Nice. Progress continues with the Fraggle Rock setting. I am still researching. Those of you who have been joining me on Discord lately, and thanks for those of you who have been very active on Discord. Just a reminder that there's a lot of new people to the hobby that go into Discord, and they are not familiar with your particular culture. So when I do step in to protect people who feel like they're being bullied, bear in mind, I don't take that very lightly. Even it doesn't matter who you are. Just be aware. People are there to share information and lore and love of the game, and have discussions about things. So if you're in the mood to poke fun at people and just like shitpost and are only there for the memes and stuff, there's particular boards and things for that. In the general chat, be welcoming and be happy and share with everyone, please. The Discord is also where I go to just like chat and hang out, and also where I've been watching Fraggle Rock. I've got 96 episodes of Fraggle Rock, which I've been watching. I sort of started from the beginning and started watching the first series. Then I sort of started jumping around to specific things as I was researching specific lore and things, because it expands quite a bit. Fraggle Rock is really interesting, particularly Jim Henson's original concept of it. It's a truly international show. Like, for instance, The Muppet Show was kind of designed for American audiences, and then they sort of adapted it to international audiences afterwards. The Fraggle Rock show was, or the original concept was the Woozle show, was designed internationally from the outset. So if you watched Fraggle Rock and you lived in the UK, you wouldn't see Doc and Sprocket. You would see a lighthouse keeper and his dog. And if you're in France, it was an ex-chef and his dog was named Croquet, something like that, Croquet. So those segments where Uncle Traveling Mac goes out into the world, for instance, were filmed locally and spliced into the rest of the show. So they're kind of independent of each other. So it's really interesting that the show was designed as an international medium of modular sort of format. And Jim Henson's overall design, his overall objective, was to promote diversity, interconnectedness, the fact that people rely on each other without realizing it, and that they are connected symbiotically, and to promote sharing and understanding and forgiveness and diversity. Because his objective was creating an international children's show that would educate children all around the world about how to deal with conflict resolution, how to love people who are different from you, and basically his objective was to foster world peace and to stop war. The guy was a fucking genius. I've no doubt in my head that man was like a modern puppet Jesus. The level of astounding, and like his technical accomplishments in puppetry are astounding as well. He was making Fraggle Rock at the same time that they filmed the Dark Crystal, the original Dark Crystal, and Labyrinth. It was actually after those two, so it was quite amazing. Hey, Marka. Yeah, the Fraggle lore is really good. Yeah, so if you got a problem with somebody on the server and stuff like that, just like the best thing you can do is just stop engaging with them, and let them go away, because bullies only really engage with you if they're getting an interesting reaction out of you. So going quiet is a good way, and just like message me or some of the other moderators or whatever, and tell us what's going on. Frederick, yeah. Just to keep you up New Zealand is currently in level 4 lockdown, because we do have an instance of the Delta variant which came into New Zealand via Australia via border control, mainly because our managed isolation hotels and stuff are not very good at dealing with an airborne virus which can pass very easily between people, just as an airborne pathogen. Delta is it's got a faster gestation time as well, so it's actually quite a lot more serious. And you when it spreads out into the population, you're basically going to see double the numbers that you would have with previous COVID-19. We are in lockdown and we are contact tracing, which is why the numbers are sort of spiking, and we're expecting them to rise to about 100 or 200 active cases. And I think we've got it under control, and we're in a pretty good position for it. Whenever I've seen a lot of people posting from overseas when when New Zealanders are talking about, like, the New Zealand police force put out a tweet saying, let's play a game, go home, stay home, you're it. Go home, stay home is basically a hide and seek game that is fairly common in New Zealand, particularly like back when I was growing up. Our family played it all the time. And it was a joke, right? It's funny, it's wry humor. But the amount of vitriolic hatred that came from overseas people who were calling our police force Nazis and stuff like that was totally over the top, man, like way over the top, to the point where I was actually jumping in to sort of like defend the New Zealand police force from the amount of vitriolic hate that was coming at them from these anti-vaxxers and other fucking morons. By the way, if you're an anti-vaxxer and you're friends with me on Facebook, apart from my sister, piss off, please. I don't want to hear any of your crazy nonsense. I will delete your posts. Also, I don't want to see any of that shit in the comment section on my videos, because we're there to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. So we're under control. My flu has got nothing to do with COVID-19. I had a brain spike test. I'm still waiting for the results, but yeah, it's not COVID-19, so don't worry about that. I heard the Emerald Dragon are getting a redesign, by the way. Yeah, I heard that too, Moonring. I haven't seen much about it yet. Damien, thank you. Have you ever seen Farscape? Yeah, man, I watched all of Farscape. I love how every once in a while you can see an old prop from one of Jim Henson's other works. I swear, Skeksis show up in one episode as aliens. Yeah, no doubt. Questionable, though, because those, like the latex and stuff like that they used in the Skeksis design would not have lasted that long. It actually decays very quickly over it probably wouldn't even last a decade, unless you're really going out of your way to preserve it. So you have to sort of preserve it as a display prop. You can't keep an active sort of thing going. Yeah, unfortunately, Jim Henson died of pneumonia by basically working. Yeah, but his son Brian has carried on the tradition really very well, and he was part of a collective of very creative and musical, wonderful people. Who are, right now in Calgary, they are filming a Fraggle Rock series, and I think there's a Fraggle Rock movie as well, which is probably going to pop up around 2022 next year. You'll see something about that as well. I've reached out, I've sent an email off to the Jim Henson Company asking them if I can make an official Fraggle Rock adventure. I haven't heard back from them, unfortunately, because they're pretty busy. But yeah. Yeah, Farscape was a really cool series, actually. The only thing I didn't really like about Farscape was like the tormenting imaginary character right at the end of the series that Crichton had to deal with. Or was it Crichton? Hang on. I also thought it was really funny that one of the puppets looked like Donald Trump. I posted about that once. I shouldn't have. Hey, DeWall, how would you transform a Magic the Gathering deck into a D&D artifact? I wouldn't. We've got the deck of many things that should teach you all you need to know. I have kind of made like a lesser version of the deck of many things that I use the Taroka card deck. I use that, and I should probably actually make that a formal sort of supplement so that people can use it, because it's pretty good. It's balanced so you can use it in the game without disrupting things. What brand of hat is this? I think I got it from Wish. What are these things? Jeans Love is the label, as the little tag thingy of it on it. But yeah, you can find them on Wish if you just go and find them. They're pretty good. Do you think we'll get Pokemon Magic the Gathering cards? No, because they're two competing different companies and two competing different card games. So you won't get Pokemon. Unless Hasbro buys out the Pokemon game. You could also get Yu-Gi-Oh! As well, I suppose. There's quite a few competitive card games that are fairly good. My friend G, shout out to G. He's also produced a video game, card game, called Final Round Fight, which I'm hoping to promote once he gets it in full swing in production. He's just got his first test product back, so that's pretty interesting. My Kickstarter with the silicon sheets and stuff, they are all in full production right now. So everything's getting produced, and we're just dealing with the final stragglers of people who haven't done their surveys or haven't their credit cards declined and stuff like that. Kickstarters are tricky, man. I think I'm just going to stick with a nice, simple book. Would a planeswalker be able to walk the D&D planes if they slipped into the same multiverse? Yeah. So the thing that I think separates them, and we have kind of elements of this in Magic the Gathering as well, particularly when we're talking about Tharizdun, the Oberith, the formation of the Abyss, and what's beyond the Far Realm. So the Far Realm is it's beyond, it's planes of existence that have alternate laws of physics, and they are conceptually the imagination of gods, sort of thing. Like they're the feverish nightmares of gods and Tharizdun himself. So Tharizdun was contacted by a psychic ping from beyond the blind eternities. Like the blind eternities is the nothingness between planes of existence, sort of thing. It's like this conceptual gray area of the void that you pass through between multiverses, right? Where it's just full of potential, but no existence. There's no time or space. There's no distance between the multiverses. The blind eternities is just nothing. It's completely, it's a state of unchange that must change for reality to exist. So in the blind eternities, you have these things in the Magic the Gathering multiverse called the Eldrazi, which are these horrific things, kind of like the elder evils of Dungeons and Dragons, Cthulhu's elder beings, unknowable, unfathomable things from beyond, right? The ultimate beyond. So in Magic, in the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse, we have an existing situation where another multiverse impinged on the the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse and created the Abyss and poured in these creatures that had no place in that multiverse, but they came in through the imagination of Tharizdun, and he basically manifested them into the lower elemental planes, and they created the Abyss. So there's that potential for a multiverse to interact with the D&D multiverse already exists. It's called the Abyss. It's called demons. It's called the Blood War. That's already happening in the D&D multiverse. It's already happened. So you can imagine that all of the different alternate versions of Archons and Manticores and Cat People and all that sort of stuff from Magic the Gathering is they could end up being demons, essentially, that came in from another plane of existence. Of course, the transition to come to from the Magic the Gathering multiverse to the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse must, by necessity, come through the Far Realm, and that is going to mess them up really badly. So the first thing you have to do is find a wizard who can protect themselves from the Far Realm's influence, because they're going to have to pass through that as like a planar barrier, a multiversal barrier, before they get to somewhere else. So they have to go through all possible existences before they pop out and into the one existence that doesn't exist, into a multiverse that's not connected. So we have a kind of a precedent there. It's crazy, but there it is. What are you rabbiting on about, Dishonored Coward? Are you triggered by the whole COVID thing? Just calm down, man. Nobody cares. I did not know that, Spike. So Hasbro has got the Pokemon license. Well, yeah. I mean, you could introduce Pokemon as like some sort of an alien creature, some sort of dimensional creature. Basically, Modrons or something from Mechanus would work just as well. Or some sort of conceptual like Fey realm where it's like children's fantasies. Like, Dream of the Blue Veil, yeah. Dream of the Blue Veil is traveling between different planes of existence within the multiverse, but traveling outside of the multiverse, that's what we're talking about. It's a whole different static, a whole different kettle of fish. The Far Realm. Yeah, it could be Pokemon in the Feywild, I reckon. Would Exarchitals be blue and red mana? No, they'd be blue and black. Remember that they are ruled over by a vampiric ruling class. That's definitely black mana. If a planeswalker appeared in the ethereal plane, would their spark lure everything to them or blind the entire plane? Hard to say. Hard to say. In the ethereal plane, they would be surrounded by echoes of reality. So they may actually be able to duplicate things by drawing ethereal duplicates of the memory of a thing. Like one of the things with the raised Speak with the Dead spell, for instance, is you're not summoning the original soul of the creature back to its body. You're summoning the animating spirit. So it's the memory of that creature from the ethereal plane that is lingering around that corpse. So in the ethereal plane, they call it the border ethereal plane. There are echoes of everything that did exist. So if there's a building that stood for 50 years and then burnt down suddenly, and then you cross over to the ethereal plane, the memory of that building is still there because it's part of the living psyche of everybody around there, sort of thing. You get me? So ghosts are living in the border ethereal plane memory version of what was once there. That's why you can have ghosts that exist in a building and travel through walls and hallways that were once there but are no longer there because they've been built over and stuff. So the ghosts are repeating a memory of their existence. So that's why when you do a Speak with Dead spell, the spirit that you're animating can't tell you what's going to happen or what is currently happening. They can only talk about what did happen. And only then if they want to. They're not compelled to tell you anything if they don't like you. So it's interesting. So their soul is departed. You're not talking to their soul. You're talking to the memory of them. Hey, Stansgate. Member for 22 months of Bron Dragon. Thank you very much, dude. I use Pokemon as elemental animals or creatures. Yep. Hey, Monster Slurpee. I might have to cut this short, guys. I can feel my voice starting to suffer. Hey, AJ, I was inspired by your video about Zugutmoy, to have a 20-plus level adventure where my party has to destroy her and basically grab the structures in the realm and turn it into a wasteland. Tricky. Because Zugutmoy can disperse her essence and basically anywhere through the mycelial network that she controls. So she can pop up anywhere. Random Psyduck encounters. The Ravnican wizard Sylvine and her grandson, the wizard Tyrion, both traveled to Faerun in the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms adventure Wizard of the Coast released over the past few weeks. Aha! So we have precedent in the lore now. What is the darkest thing you've done in your campaign? That was probably when a mind flayer sucked the brain out of, killed a couple of NPCs, including a child. That was one of the darkest things that happened in recent memory. I've had a lot of campaigns. Thanks, Peter Griffin. Thanks, Minring. Could I add to my to-do list the Shaz from 2nd edition? Sure. Thanks, Robert. AJ, I recently learned about a species of parasitic isopod that replaces the tongue of large fish. Yep, I've actually encountered one of those. Fun fact, my parents used to own a seafood restaurant. So I know a lot about fish, and I spent a large amount of my teenage years filleting gurnard. Isopod that replaces the tongues of large fish. It got me wondering about how magical parasites work in D&D and if they can be useful to adventurers. You mean like a Babel fish type parasite that you could replace your tongue and be able to speak different languages? Interesting. It's like, imagine doing that against a bard's will, for instance. It's like, yeah, you can speak every language, but nobody's ever going to kiss you again in your entire life. Wasn't it the astral, not the ethereal, that holds the animating spirit? The astral is just a plane of travel between the different planes of existence. So that's the upper conceptual levels beyond the Feywild. The ethereal plane and the fugue plane are kind of like things travel through there. So the astral is where living creatures' dreams and conceptions move. So the concepts and stuff that we have inform the outer planes through the astral. So the astral's got the color pools and things like that, and it's got creatures which, when you astral travel, your living spirit, your essence. So the soul may travel through the astral, but really what the soul does is it travels through the ethereal plane and then into the fugue plane, and then beyond the fugue plane it goes into the astral. So the astral is like beyond that. It's higher. It's you're getting into the heavenly or demonic, the heavenly or infernal domains through the astral. Magical parasites, Palladium rifts, anyone? Yeah, exactly. You can't help but think of Rifts Atlantis when you think about implanting parasites and things that have benefits but are horrific. Is there a relationship between the Styx and the ethereal? Not really. What the Styx does is it's a counterpart to the River Oceanus. You're going to be hearing about the River Oceanus when I make a video. My next video coming up will be on the ethereal, on the Plane of Elysium. Elysium is interesting. It's not exactly what people think it is. Like you're primarily, when you assume that you're going to Elysium, the first thing I usually think of is sitting down in a beautiful field of golden wheat against a tree of perfect peaches, dappled in sunlight. It's perfect siesta weather where you just sit back and there's entertaining, beautiful things going on around you. The landscape is absolutely sumptuous and epic, and you're just eating this peach and hundreds of years go by and you just don't want to leave. So if a soul has gone to Elysium and you try to cast a resurrect spell on them, they're just going to go, nah, don't want to go. And a planeswalker, like if you travel to Elysium as a living being and incarnate there, you become trapped because it is paradise. You just don't want to leave. It's pure goodness. It's neutral good. However, there are multiple layers of Elysium, and some of them are quite unpleasant. So although it's good, still good, there's like a mire of mangroves and things like that with these islands of rocky stuff, and it's kind of like there's a giant hydra that lives there. And it's like, it's good because you see these like rainbow auras around things and these good creatures which flutter around and stuff. So it's pervadingly good, but the actual environment itself is quite harsh for a living creature to live there. There's another layer as well, which is all these mountain valleys and howling winds. And basically people have to bunker up in these valleys to live there. But, they're welcoming and awesome communities and they go off on adventures and stuff. Because a lot of people who are very good orientated are not static. They don't want to just sit around doing nothing. They want to actually keep going on adventures in the afterlife, and that's what Elysium is as well. It borders Arborea. So the same forest realm that the gold elves came from, the gold and silver elves came from, which became the moon and the sun elves, and it's also the home of the elven pantheon, or one of the homes of the elven pantheon. So yeah, think what dreams may come. Yeah, exactly. D&D ghosts, souls of the dead, or just memory? They can be both. They are pretty much just memories of people. They're not actually souls. So it's possible to have a ghost of yourself, I suppose, if you got resurrected. How weird would that be? You get resurrected and find out that there's a ghost of you in a building. That's possible in Dungeons and Dragons. So D&D Elysium is nothing like ancient Greek Elysium. No, it is. It incorporates ancient Greek Elysium, but it's much bigger than that. Kuriyama, yes, I'm absolutely making more videos on different planes of existence, and also more player characterable races videos, and more monster lore videos, and more planar lore videos, and more Magic the Gathering videos, and more Spelljammer videos. Yep. All topics of interest for me. I feel that when Elysium is more Paradise-like than Mount Celestia, I wonder what's better, Elysium or Malcontent's Plane in the Abyss. So Mount Celestia is lawful good, so it's good with a purpose. It's good with a structure and a reason. So progress and self-development is integral to Celestia. You cannot just sit around enjoying Celestia. You must progress. You must make your way up the mountain. And each progress up to the next layer of the mountain is a transformative process which brings you closer and closer to pure lawful goodness. And then eventually, when you get to the top, you either turn into an angel serving the multiverse, or you turn into an archon guarding Celestia and making sure that that process continues. So the forces of Celestia reinforce Celestia, and they also, when you get to the top, you may possibly incarnate outside of the multiverse as a god. So the doorway at the top of Celestia may in fact take you out of the multiverse to other multiverses, to nascent multiverses, which are just popping into existence. So yeah, it's interesting. And of course, you may become a facet of one of the existing gods. That's one of the things that people don't realize that petitioners may do. And the fact that some of the gods are actually, like, one of the reasons why it's so difficult to kill gods and why avatars of gods can exist and things is because gods are more than just one individual. They're actually collectives of souls that are all exactly the same, because they've got exactly the same motives and thoughts and feelings and things. So some people, when they travel to Celestia, go through a series of tasks and ordeals which are exactly what the original soul that became Moradin or Bahamut or whatever go through, and then at the end of it you realize that you actually are Bahamut or Moradin, and then you merge and become an aspect of Moradin. So it's almost like some mortals are aspects of gods which go through the whole mortal death trial process, and so the gods are constantly creating themselves. You get me? So you may actually kill a god and then it just spontaneously pops back into existence again because more souls have traveled through and Celestia has reinforced the existence of that god, and new souls have popped in to take the place of the old ones. So yeah, it's very weird and complicated. More elf videos. Yep, the next elf video that I've got coming up, the history of the elves, will be on the Crown Wars, and the amount of research and stuff that I have to do for that, because I need to get it right. Because it's very important that I make a video about the Crown Wars which everybody can understand and is correct. So hopefully George Crasios and Eric Boyd will help me with that, considering that they're responsible for the grand history of the realms, as well as Mr. Baker. Yeah. So hopefully I'll get them to double check my notes. Yeah, 5,000 more viewers until subscribers until I get to 100,000. When I get to 100,000 subscribers, the channel's going to change a little bit. So I'm going to have a separate website where everything will be organized, and you'll be able to have more searchability for my videos and things like that. More playlists, basically. Yeah, the afterlife isn't boring. You could adventure in the afterlife, much like Dragon Ball Z, right? It's quite possible to exist beyond death in Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. Like, if you have a total party kill in your campaign, it's perfectly reasonable to say, okay, we're going to carry on. You actually died as a bunch of adventurers, and now you're in the afterlife. Here's what happens. And it's possible, much like a Greek tragedy, to travel to the afterlife and retrieve somebody. If you don't have access to resurrection spells and things, it's possible to travel there and get them and bring them back. Cadley is Daenerys. Yeah, exactly, Jake. Nice. Thanks, Kuriyama. Boss Flex. Thanks, Demon Inquisition. Hey, AJ, are you privy to Skystone in the Dwarven kingdom of Shireman? Obviously not. It's colorless, transparent stone used for constructing buildings. The dwarves can tint it whatever color they like as well. Interesting. No, I was not privy to that. I have been asked to make videos about fantasy substances like adamantine and adamantium and adamantite and adamant. Yeah, the only thing that doesn't exist is adamantium. Interesting. Anyway. Oof. It's almost time for me to go anyway. Canon is the new spam. Yeah, the Crown Wars are integral to the history of the elves, and they are very complicated, yeah. They also go a long way to describing why there are additional factions of Dark Elves. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to the table. That's one of the focuses that I'm going to have, is explaining exactly what the Eleutheri were, what they were up to, and how they split into different factions that were involved in different facets, different fronts of the war. And also the destruction of Miaratar and the horrible nature of the High Moors, what the High Moors actually are. When I reach 100,000, you'll become a god, AJ. Hardly. Dominion Inquisition member for 19 months of Gold Dragon. Thank you, man. Also, side note, I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you for everything you do, as always. Oh, thanks, man. You're welcome. If you die in the afterlife, do you die permanently just like in the Hells? Yeah, unfortunately so. It's possible to perma-die in the D&D. All right, that's it for me, everybody. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your support, your wonderful questions. And I'm glad to see that a lot of you are very interested in the Magic the Gathering lore and how it, I was fairly confident that you would be anyway, because you have definitely your people of my own heart. You know, you're interested in the cosmology and stuff, and the overall structure of Dungeons and Dragons, because it provides us with a lattice work that we can fit anything that we want, any sort of storying element into it. And I think that's one of the things that people sort of lose sight of, the reason why we're obsessed with this sort of stuff and why we love to talk about it, because it allows us to incorporate anything into our games, any sort of story element. Logical consistency underpinning a fantasy provides us with a role-playing game that everybody can zone into. Like, we need to have that shared reality and understanding in order to tell our stories. Thanks, Christopher. Loved hearing you gush about Henson and the Fraggles. Thanks for hopping onto the stream. Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it, and including doing some drawings of the Fraggle world and things like that. I'm really looking forward to doing some illustrations for this document as well. More rifts coming up, I assure you. In your games, the heavens have reincarnation. Interesting. It may be possible for somebody in the heavens or the celestial realms to actually go into the ethereal plane and grab, like, the deep ethereal, and grab a memory of that soul and reincarnate them that way. Possible? Interesting. Okay, that's it. That's it from me. Thanks, everyone, and I'll catch you next weekend. And I'll try to keep my content coming. Bye.